Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Nature Healing, where we're going to heal today with ants. And this topic presented itself a month ago or so when I was camping, and our campsite had a huge ant mound on it. And so I thought, well, I don't really know much about ants. I remember eating ants as a child, a very small child in preschool is one of my oldest memories, actually. Um, was eating little black ants and teaching other kids to do so, which is a little strange. But otherwise, I didn't know much about them. So I spent some time dreaming with them and researching them. And then all of a sudden, they've shown up everywhere in my life. They've moved into my house recently, which has been exciting. And we're seeing some of the virgin unmated queen ants flying around right now, which has been exciting. And anyhow, I'm just really glad that they showed themselves so we can hang out with them tonight. So let's do a little experiment and shrink ourselves so we can kind of be like Alice in Wonderland, and we can drink the potion and just imagine ourselves shrinking, 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 so that we now have the perspective of an ant. And ants are really associated with raiding picnics, always being there, searching, searching, always finding the treasures hidden. And that's what we're going to pretend to be today for a little bit. So, from our ant's perspective, as tiny, tiny beings, we will connect to the consciousness field with Dr. Pong's 8 verses. All right, ants. Head touches sky, feet stands on earth. Body relaxes and the mind expands. Be respectful and quiet. Mind is clear and appearance is humble. No distracting thoughts. Mind expands into infinite space. Feel the mind shining into the body deeply and inwardly. Entire body is harmonized with chi, harmonized with chi. So from our ant's eye view, we'll receive a little bit of scientific information about them. There are about 14,000 ant species worldwide. They live in colonies, never alone. They're known for teamwork and always searching. And they've been on Earth for over 100 million years. Ants live on every continent except Antarctica. They're everywhere. Ants are known for how much they can carry. A single ant can carry 50 times its own body weight. And they can carry these heavy loads for miles. Colonies can be just a few dozen ants up to huge mega colonies that have millions and millions of individuals. Okay, this is amazing. Ants might be small, but their biomass, the total ant biomass in the world, makes up 15 to 20% of all terrestrial animal biomass. So if you weighed all the animals on the face of the earth, not in the water, ants would make up 15 to 20% of the weight. So they're very, very numerous. And the largest recorded ant colony is 3,700 miles wide. It's in Argentina. So some of these colonies can be gargantuan. I thought it was interesting that ants and bees actually have a very close shared family tree. They're both in the order Hymenoptera, which means membrane winged. Now, we don't usually think of ants having wings, but we'll learn about that more on a future slide. They do, by the way. And this order includes all ants, bees, and wasps. So about 100 million years ago, ants actually evolved from wasp-like ancestors. I thought that was really cool. And honeybees branched off from a different lineage, but they all share key traits. So a lot of the ways that the colonies are organized in honeybee, and in ant colonies is very, very similar. The way that they have they can perfectly share resources, share jobs, um, to make sure everything gets done. So each colony will have at least one queen, but they can have more than one queen, which is kind of interesting. And the queen is the only egg-laying ant. So the queen is responsible for creating all the other ants. Kind of like bees, there are workers, and they're all females. Actually, all of the other members of an ant society um, are sterile females. So there are males that are winged for a short amount of time, but their only function is mating. So they are only brought forth, the queen will only lay male eggs when they're needed, and then they die. So, so they're not around for very long. Unlike bees, so the sterile females can be in different groups. So there's workers, there can be soldiers, um, and they have other jobs. And depending on their jobs, their physical bodies might look different. So again, in the colony, there are males, though they're not around for very long, and they don't live for very long. And then the brood are the eggs and the larvae and the pupae that are being raised by the workers. And in this picture here, you see a picture of a queen ant. So the queen ants have wings, just like the males have wings. So here you can see this is all one ant type species. This is all one ant species. So actually, maybe not. Maybe A and B are different species. Okay, never mind. Let's say that A and B are different species. So looking at A, we have the queen, she's the largest. She has wings. Then we have the male. He also has wings, and we'll learn more about why in a bit. And then there are, different workers, like the one to the right is kind of a soldier, so they're larger because they're defending the colony. And then there's different minor workers, and they don't have wings and they're smaller. They have smaller bodies. So the ants have a lot of different jobs. They have to find food. Sometimes they have to create the food through various processes. They have to make sure everyone has food. They have to care for the young. There are foragers, builders, defenders, and I learned that one ant might have some of different roles in their lives. So an ant might go and be a forager, and then they might be a nurse ant. So they're not always going to have the same role. It shifts around depending on need. So ants have no ears. And so they hear by feeling vibrations, feeling energy fields, I'm sure. Some species also have no eyes. So, they really rely on antenna, chemical signals, and just probably tapping into the field. And we've all seen it when ants come up next to each other and they touch faces, which I always think is really cute. Um, and that's just one of the ways that they exchange information via their antenna. So the reason that queen ants need wings and why males have wings is they mate flying. So when it's hot outside, maybe right after a storm, you might notice an ant colony kind of birthing a new colony. So it's funny, I've seen this happen before, but I didn't know they were ants because they were flying. I didn't know ants could fly. But when ants are reproducing, so when they're making a new colony, there will be a ton of queen ants that come out with wings. And then there'll be a bunch of male ants that come out with wings, and they'll all be flying around mating. And all of the mated queens go off and they make a new colony. So let's see. And the males die shortly after mating. And again, a single mated queen founds her whole entire colony. So she doesn't need to leave with a bunch of worker ants. She actually, by herself, um, can go off and lay the eggs to create a whole new colony. And here's just a really cool picture of, the ant mating flight going on. So, I mean, again, I bet you all have seen this happening and you probably didn't know that they were ants. Just kind of gaze at the photo. It's just so cool. It's just so interesting to see. I learned that, ants are really prolific. They'll have tons of mated or tons of unmated queens or, yeah, queens and drones coming out. And really, it's not, um, all of them won't be able to survive, right? So when this happens, it's actually a huge boon for the ecosystem because all these flying ants are food for the birds and insects, other insects and bats and whatnot. So I didn't think that I was seeing flying ants because I thought what I was seeing were termites. So just in case anybody else here um, thought the same thing, I thought I'd just show that, when you're out and if you see something that looks like an ant with wings, it probably is an ant, probably uh, a queen ant, most likely. And, and you can see in these pictures how different ants and termites look. Um, so, termites have straight antenna, and they have a broad waist, right? Ants have these articulated waists. Um, so with ants, their front wings are longer than their back wings. With termites, all the wings are the same. Way. But I will say both ants and termites both do mating flights in similar ways. So you might see them out doing mating flights at the same time. I wanted to bring up the little black ants that they're the ants that hang out in our houses most often. Maybe you all have experienced them. Um, they're called Monomorium minimum or little black ants, and just wanted you all to know that they don't do any structural damage. They don't chew on wood or drywall. They're probably, if they're in your house, they're probably nesting outdoors, um, under rocks or under the soil. Um, they might have appeared. I think the ones that have appeared in my house recently probably came because a new queen found a new colony and her little worker ants wandered into my house and found some sweet stuff. So, if they appear out of nowhere, it's probably a new colony. Um, and and yeah, they can be large groups and they're very, very common. So overall, ants act as ecosystem engineers. Their tunneling aerates and enriches the soil, so that makes it healthier for plants. They also do a lot to spread seeds, so helping plants spread and grow. They're predators, so they do keep some pest populations in check. And they're also scavengers, so they recycle nutrients. And they're actually considered to be a keystone species. So they're such an important food source that without them, many food webs would collapse. And yeah, like I said, their biomass is so enormous that a lot of animals rely on them. So diving into the mythical aspect of ants, if you all are familiar of the myth of Psyche and Eros, so Psyche is sent off to complete many impossible tasks to get her love Eros back. And her mother-in-law, Aphrodite, who doesn't really think that much of Psyche, puts these impossible tasks together so that Psyche can prove to her that she is worthy of her son. So one of these tasks is to sort mixed grains by dawn. So it's a mixture of wheat and barley and I don't know, rye, we'll say. And Psyche is, beside herself. She can't do this by herself right before dawn. Well, in her earlier days, Psyche had been kind to the ants, right? She had noticed where they were walking and stepped over their paths, and they remember her in her time of need, and they come and are able to accomplish this impossible task of sorting through teamwork and through their great numbers. So I love that story and how even the smallest creatures can enable, this great love story to continue on. More mythic stories about ants. So there is a great tale of the ant people in ancient Greece. And long story short, Zeus is looking for a warrior tribe that might be able to defeat Troy. And his friend tells him all of these characteristics that this warrior tribe would need to have. They would need to have impeccable teamwork. They would need to be they would need to be serving of the good of all. They would need to have like kind of like an invisible energetic connection between each other so they could always know where each other was and make sure they were always moving towards the collective good. Well, Zeus was hanging out by an old oak tree, and there were ants going up and down the tree. And Zeus said, "Oh, all those characteristics are those that ants contain." And so he turned a colony of ants into this warrior tribe, the Myrmidons, perhaps. And yes, they were led by Achilles, and along with Achilles and their collective genius, they were able to be the most successful in the Trojan Wars. And I like this story because it demonstrates an aspect that I like to um, put along with ant colonies, and that is the concept of synarchy. We talked about synarchy with honeybees because they actually act in a similar way, but basically, um, synarchy as opposed to anarchy or hierarchy is sort of this collective leadership style in which every individual contains the exact same information, the same blueprint as every other individual. And then it's kind of like connected in with something like the Mingjue entirety field. The group is able to move together in this beautiful, harmonious way that's at the same time effortless, fun, and incredibly effective. So I think this Greek story is talking towards that concept and how we can achieve our greatest strength in knowing how to work as one. And then lastly, I'll just say in our continent, in North America, there's a lot of stories about how ants basically saved civilization over and over again. So, one example, so the Hopi ant people are known to have sheltered humans in times of catastrophe. So there's a picture of a petroglyph of ant people on the left, and they were thought to have taught patience and cooperation and survival. Right. The sacred gift of life.
Megan, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, letting me know. Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can take my video off. And maybe I'll do that. Is that any?
It, it, oh, now it seems like you froze, but it was better.
We can see the screen now and hear you.
Good. Were there any parts of the screen that you couldn't see before? Should I go backwards
The
at
screen
all?
where you had the Maya and the Hopi, that's where it blacked out. So it wasn't up as
Okay.
long as you were talking about it.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes. And
Yes.
we didn't hear everything you were saying either.
We
That's
can,
when the audio went out.
yeah. But we could read it. So.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, here it is again, if you missed anything, and all the points are spelled out. Thank you for letting me know that my computer was not functioning well. How does it seem now?
It seemed
Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, we will end then, maybe, we'll see, um, with some wise words on ants from Medicine Cards by Jamie Sams and David Carson. And I'll just read in summary from their book. Ant can carry a leaf over hundreds of miles just to get it back to the anthill. Ants in Africa will strip a forest bare when food is scarce, even if it takes them a year. Ant's medicine is the strategy of patience. Ant is a builder like beaver, is aggressive like badger, has stamina like elk, scrutiny like mouse, and giveaway like turkey. Every ant is an anthill. Oh, yeah, every ant in an anthill is part of the ant group mind, as all the ants work for the queen ant and the hive. Self-sacrifice is a part of ant medicine. Greater than ants' other medicines, however, is patience. Ant people are active, community-minded folks who see the greater future needs of their town. Ant people are planners like squirrel and are content to see their dreams being built a little at a time. In today's society, that's a rare quality. Patience does have its rewards. Ant people have a knowing about the sweet victory at the end of the line. There's never a concern about going without, if they are late for the opening of a sale. If what they want is sold out, they are sure that something equal or better is available. I love that. It reminds me of how we make our intentions, our Mingjue intentions, and then we let them go to open ourselves up for something equal or better. And that's the faith that the ants have. They always know they can find something else new. So here's some leafcutter ants. Just spend a moment looking at them, carrying up to 50 pounds their body weight, all in a line, patiently moving and knowing that what they're looking for will come eventually. All right. Let's see if I can talk with my video on now. So thanks for sharing ants with me. It's interesting how where
You're cutting out again.
all right, no video. Can you hear me now?
Maybe we should
No.
all turn our videos off too.
Yeah, we'll do that too.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think once your video's off, you're good.
Good, perfect. Well, I can stop talking. If any of you well, have anything to share about ants, please do. And or if you have anything to share about patience and how patience shows up in your life, or any of the other qualities of ants, I'd love to hear it.
I have something I'd like to share.
Please.
Uh, this really helped me understand what I observed many years ago. And I have no idea why I was doing this, but I was like bent over observing a line of ants. And I saw an ant that was carrying something that looked like a log, I mean, to the ant. And the ant was moving along in a line. And all of a sudden, he laid the piece down, and another ant picked it up, and the line kept moving. And I think that was explained in your presentation. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hello. That sounds
Uh,
really awesome.
Yeah, I had one other ant story. We used to own a log home, and it was hand hewn, and it was built by a guy who we met in the early 70s. And we'd had a fire. 90s. No, we bought the house in the 90s. The house was built in the 70s. And we'd had a fire in the house, and some of the logs had been replaced. And all of a sudden, I'd see what looked like sawdust showing up on a surface now and then. We sold the house, and the people that bought the house discovered that they had carpenter ants, not termites, but carpenter ants. And I'd never seen one, but I thought that was interesting. I did a little bit of reading on them, and carpenter ants are not destructive, I guess, and they kind of sleep in dark, damp places, primarily in the mountainous areas. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Yeah, I also found most of my termite versus ant images were people trying to figure out if they had carpenter ants or termites eating their wood. So I didn't know that ants were a home, that ate wood in homes. So guess they do. Thank you. Swan, go ahead.
I have a carpenter ant story from when George and I first bought this house. It's all wood, and there's no attic. It's like wood ceilings, and then it just has insulation, and then the roof, and so there's no attic. But we had to replace a ceiling in the basement because we had a leak, and so we had 2 or 3 workmen down there taking the ceiling down, and all of a sudden we heard them all screaming and running out of the house. And we went in to see what was going on, and there were 1,000 carpenter, had to be a good 1,000 carpenter ants on the floor. The house, when we bought it, had been abandoned for, well, hadn't been lived in. The owners fell on hard times because the husband was kicked out of his family business, and so they left kind of abruptly, and empty. The house was empty for a while, and so the carpenter ants moved in, and we didn't know that until this incident. Then we discovered that there were droppings, like Gary said, in different places in the house, and they said that's an indication there's probably a colony there too. So we had to, because they were going to eat through the ceilings and through all the insulation. Now, Gary, I never heard that they don't eat the wood. I've always been advised that they do eat the wood.
Yeah,
So
they must, because it leaves that like almost like a
Yeah.
dust dropping. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. And so unfortunately, we had to treat in order not to have our house devoured by by carpenter ants. And we had carpenter bees also, which is that's a whole nother subject. But they have their own. They're really good in the environment, but they're not good in your house. So anyhow, but the other thing that was really funny when you were ending and you showed all the ants marching along, the song, the ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. And I don't remember all the words.
The ants go one by one, the little one stops to suck his thumb, and they all go marching
Marching down into the ground,
out
boom,
of the
boom,
rain. Boom, boom,
boom, boom, boom, out of the rain. Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. So, well, you know more, you remember more of the words than I do, but that was from my childhood. So that's a long time ago. So,
Thank you, Swan. Howla. Don't worry, I'm sure that the carpenter ants had many other colonies, so they're very prolific. So we do what we need to do. Howla. Thank you. Yeah, ants are really persistent. They've been around for a long time. They'll be around way after we are. Howla. Howla.
I just looked up the lyrics. Oh my God, it goes on and on. 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they go through 10 different to get out of the rain. Boom, boom, boom.
Mm. You can make up verses. Just
Yeah, I bet.
I
as
think
long
of
as
it
they
as one
rhyme.
of those campfire songs when you go in rounds, you know? I was so blown away by the amount of biomass that they are, and it really caught my attention about thinking of them as terrestrial beings, because I don't know why I never did before. I always thought of them as, being out of the ground, but of course they are in the ground, and that's where their colonies are, I guess most types. But it was really a powerful realization, because I have been trying to deepen my relationship with understanding, like the second dimension, everything under the soil. And now I can think of them there and as a big part of it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Howla. Yeah, I think terrestrial is as opposed to aquatic, like, whales and stuff. But yeah, I mean, right, in the Mayan myth, they went to the center of the mountain and found corn and brought that to the humans, right? So, um, yeah, they kind of do both. When I was working with them in my dreams, what they were showing is at least how they see themselves are they're the special ones who are able to find the most special things. So it was almost like uncovering lost sacred objects or something. Like they're the ones who can find the things that no one else can see. So um, if any of you have trouble finding something, think about ants. Maybe they can help you out. So thank you. Hala. Hala.
I was reminded of a story from my nephew. He's like 16 years old now or some, which is crazy. But when he was 7, we had moved with him from Alaska, and that's where he'd been his whole life until that point. For 6, 7 years of his life, he was in Alaska, and then we moved to Minnesota. And one day he was just so despondent, like he was so sad, and I knew there's something was bothering him, and I thought it had to do with the move. It was like this big disruption in his life. He left his nana, he left everything he knew in Alaska, his friends and stuff. So I thought maybe he's missing, Alaska, or maybe missing Nana or something. And I tried to get him to open up about it. And I was like, hey, what's going on, buddy? Are you missing Nana? Are you worried about not having friends here? Like, what do you want to talk about it? And he just says, no, I just woke up today and I realized that I probably won't be Ant-Man. Like, the Ant-Man is this like superhero based on ants or whatever. He's really into Ant-Man at that time. That's just, I don't know, just that story came to me when we were going over ants and the super strength that they have when they're you know anyways, that was a precious memory. I just thought I'd share it.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Hala. Yeah, there is something about children and their connection to ants that's been continually weaving through our time together today. So, yeah, these tiny beings that are super, super strong. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Thank you.
I'll share too. Thank you for this presentation. It's really wonderful. Ants are a great topic. And I always have this fond memory of them. When we walked the Camino de Santiago, we would have our lunches on the forest floor or just somewhere. We would sit on ponchos, and the primary entertainment during our walk was watching ants. That's what we would do while we ate. Anytime we took a break, we would get that poncho out and sit on the poncho and just watch all the ants. And one of the main memories for me from the Camino is actually ant watching. So anytime I see ants now, it reminds me to slow down and just enjoy the path, enjoy the journey. So I really love ants, and I love that patience aspect. And also, I just realized I don't know, so many things shifted on that walk for us. So many old habits broke, and some of it is this time with ants, just watching them and being present with them and seeing them in their motion. While I intentionally stopped motion, because it was motion all day, every day, and then to stop and in my stillness watch all of these ants in motion, it was just really, really powerful. And I have this gratitude to ants that I've carried with me since the walk. So I really appreciate you bringing us ant energy. So thank you.
Yeah, that patience, that stamina.
Yeah, patience, stamina. Yeah, a little
the other
bit.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that, like focusing on just doing a little bit to fulfill our dreams, just slow and steady and working together, and yeah, the patience and the presence and just staying at it and trusting. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hala. It's beautiful. Perfect accompanier to your pilgrimage journey are the ants. It's awesome. Thank you. Are there any intentions that might benefit from the medicine of patience and stamina and trust?
Well, somewhere in there, I guess, is trust. We have a wildfire that blew up today. We have this huge smoke column. It's about 8 miles from here. I don't think it'll ever threaten us, but we've been so lucky all summer to not be close to any wildfires. So I'm just into trusting that the wildfire is there and the wildfire will eventually be out, and just may all my friends and neighbors be safe.
Haula.
Mhm.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, that's really hard. That's hard to
Mhm.
witness.
Huge column, just.
Well, I will say that, it is the ant people that were always there when catastrophes struck, and the specific catastrophes were named as, I think, fire and freezing. So, all right, we're going to put the ants in on the job. Allah, thank you.
So thinking of patience, persistence, and trust and intentions just for all beings to live together in peace and harmony on Mother Earth, with all showing respect to all of her children and making this a beautiful planet for the next 7 generations and beyond.
Allah, may it be so. Thank you, Stephanie. Allah. I'm going to put Terry in the field.
I'd like to put my brother Phil in the field for both mental and physical well-being.
Thank you, Shayna. Putting Phil in the field.
I'd like to put Karen in the field.
Thank you, Gary, putting Karen in the field.
I'd like to put Teresa and Mike in the field. Mike just had another surgery on 2 carcinomas on his back, that he have the patience, the willpower, the perseverance, and the trust that it's all going to heal and disappear.
Allah, may it be so. Thank you, Swan. For all these intentions spoken and all the ones unspoken, holding even the littlest of intentions, knowing that they can bring the biggest changes and healings, and also holding our biggest intentions, our biggest dreams for peace and reciprocity and a healed earth and a healed supply. So I'll invite you all to find a comfortable seated position or laying down, whatever you prefer. And holding all of our precious intentions and all of the good information shared today in our hearts, feeling the gratitude for all of Earth's creatures, feeling gratitude for all of the connections in our lives that have enabled us to make these beautiful intentions, that have inspired these beautiful intentions. For all the things we hold dear and the things we love. And finding your way to your observer state, coming back to Shenji Palace, allowing Mingjue to flow through your head, down the neck, through the torso, down the spine, into the pelvis, down the legs, bringing Mingjue to our entire chi body, and allowing our chi body to expand, 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 and merge with the entire universe, all of universe chi. Mm. 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 Allowing yourself to drop deeper, deeper into the field of relaxation. Mm. Mm. Allowing your consciousness to become one with all of existence. Allowing yourself to become Mingjue love, to become Mingjue peace, to become Mingjue gratitude, to become Mingjue happiness. Mm. Mm. Allowing your head inner space now to become empty and open. Shoo. 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 Allowing the neck inner space to become empty and open. Shoo. 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 Allowing the chest inner space, heart, lungs, breasts, shoulders, arms, hands to become empty and open. Shoo. 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 dissolving, dissolving. Allowing all of your organs, liver, gallbladder, spleen, intestines, kidneys, bladder, reproductive organs to become empty and open and clear. Shoo. 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 Dissolving. Allowing the pelvis, the legs, thighs, knees, calves, feet to become empty and open. Shoo. 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 Allowing the spine, upper spine, middle spine, lower spine, the entire nervous system network to become empty and open. Shoo. 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 Allowing your entire body to dissolve. Shoo. Opening, opening, opening. We are Mingjue love. We are Mingjue peace. We are Mingjue happiness. We are Mingjue gratitude. Shoo. As we begin emerging from the void, tuning ourselves to patience, patience, and trust, trust, patience, and trust for our world, for our communities, for our families, for ourselves. Patience and trust. If you wish to stay in this healing field, please do so. Otherwise, you can move the shoulders, wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers. Coming back to life. Thank you, everyone.